Hey guys, are you ready for today's October 9, 2020, 11:02 a.m. Central Time. This is an update to the video I did way early this morning talking about Desperate Democrats' 25th Amendment, where I went over in detail the legislation that Representative Raskin put out in 2017 that died. My theory, which was 100% accurate, was they were going to reintroduce that bill with some tweaks, and they indeed did that today with Pelosi. So what I didn't go over in that video, though, was the text of the 25th Amendment, because it really wasn't particularly germane to what I was talking about. But it is in this video, because this has been created for the purpose of Biden. This has nothing to do with Trump, to a degree, if you will. Follow me here. The 25th Amendment, in Section 1, it says, in case of the removal of the president from office or of his death or resignation, the vice president shall become president. Okay? Now, Section 4 is the important part. Whenever vice president and a majority of either principal officers of the executive departments or of such other body as Congress may by law provide. That's what they're creating in this bill, is the other body that Congress may provide as law. The commission that Jamie created in the original bill has 11 people in it, 10 of which are physicians. What they want to do in the new bill is add to that amount basically political hacks. So a bunch of physicians will now be examining the president and then sending this report to Congress, but in consultation to these political hacks. So maybe, I don't know, have some very, very political opinions added to it that are totally not germane and shouldn't be in it. So why they added more people to this commission that are not physicians in any capacity is just obnoxious. It's just their way of doing life. So the vice president, regardless, because it did not change the text of the 25th Amendment. Otherwise, they would have had to do an amendment to the amendment, which never would have passed anytime soon. The bill that they created today will not pass this Congress, as I said in the original video. So the timing of this, though, is brilliant. Because Pelosi's been talking about Trump's mental state recently because of coronavirus. He's on some medication, and perhaps he's having erratic behavior and all this wonderful stuff. Is brilliant. This is some underhanded, sketchy shit. Follow me. The vice president, if Biden were to get into office, God, I hope that's not the case. Everybody, and if you don't feel this way, I'd be shocked, knows that it's really the Harris-Biden ticket. In fact, both candidates have slipped up and said the Harris-Biden ticket. In fact, Harris went even further and said the Harris administration with consultation or whatever of Biden. I mean, she went really far. She didn't just say Harris-Biden like Biden did. So that was obvious. It's like they were on a conference call and these both idiots screwed up because they said it too many times. So anyway, in that circumstance, Harris would initiate this. The reason this is brilliant is because the executives of those departments can be bypassed with this bill. Because this is the body that Congress comes up with. Trying to currently, because that body doesn't exist, going through all of those executives of departments would be quite time consuming. And there'd be many, many opinions as to what's happening here. Because when the founders put this put together, okay, when this came around, I should say, whatever, the theory was a physical illness or death. It really didn't have anything to do with mental, because to be honest with you, that really wasn't the situation back then. I mean, even in the 1950s, they had very little explanation for mental health. So, but obviously if you went crazy, it would apply to this. Okay, but that really wasn't what they were headed at here. Biden has had aneurysms, okay? Biden his mental capacity is obviously going downhill. Gramps needs to go home and play with his grandkids. Anyone who feels different about Biden, not only are you not being honest, you're not paying attention. Biden from last year, 2019, is a different Biden today in October 2020. That's how fast this guy is going downhill. You don't even need to know Biden from way earlier. The shit that flies out of his mouth is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And the racist stuff that comes out of his mouth is just priceless, because it's like when racists, this side note, when true racists get older, they tend to express their opinion without thinking about it at all, very openly. And that's exactly what Biden's been doing. So beside the point, you know, if Biden's in the corner playing with himself or drooling or talking to a ghost or something or whatever, and it has nothing to do with him physically, Harris can initiate this. She goes to this body, which is very easy to do, has these physicians check him out, and have consultation with the political hacks, submit this report, and this is all in that legislation. Submit that report to Congress. Congress then makes a decision and creates a resolution as to whether or not the president is ridiculously handicapped and needs to be taken out of office. Obviously, Biden does not have any competent brains in his head to be commander-in-chief now, more or less a few months from now, more or less in 2021. So that's going to be a very easy case to get rid of Biden. This makes it so simple to get rid of Biden. That's what they did here. That's exactly what they did here. This has nothing to do with Trump. And that makes me sick that they played it. She set this up because she has not liked Trump from day one, obviously. But she actually set this up because she's been saying for a while that Trump's crazy, you know, whatever the hell, whatever term she uses. But she went as far now to, he's on medication for coronavirus and it can do several things. I've read these reports from these doctors, and I'm not a doctor, but obviously there can be side effects and it's perhaps impairing his judgment. That alone is not good enough to get rid of a president. The president obviously has, I can't imagine any president being in office not having a backup plan, whether it be a temporary one or forever one, that they have already discussed with their vice president. So that's kind of ridiculous to have made that assumption that he didn't have that going on now. But she went and set this up. She literally said that Trump is being affected by his medication. That made everyone think the 25th Amendment legislation they introduced today had to do with Trump and nothing to do with a Biden administration. That is so underhanded and sketchy. When Jamie Raskin originally put this bill out in 2017, he indeed had the idea of Trump in mind when he did this bill. Pelosi jumped on this bill and reintroduced it in perfect timing of her ridiculous remarks about Trump, and to set this up for Biden before he were to be elected. Like I said, this bill's not going to pass during this Congress, but they could reintroduce it in the next Congress on January 3rd and actually go over this. And if the Democrats get the House and the Senate, they could very well pass this bill. And if Biden gets in office at that point, obviously, too, he would sign it. Whether he's has to have someone hold his hand to use the pen, he will sign it, okay? So this will happen under a Biden administration, especially if the Democrats get the Senate. They are wanting to ditch the filibuster, okay, which is what is the checks and balance for the Senate, giving the minority the ability to block legislation. Ditching that, the majority will be able to bring up any bill at any time, whatever they want, and pass it as long as they have 60. As far as of now, that could change too. 60 threshold for the legislation to pass, which I could see them getting the additional senators, because they would, based on some of these Senate races I'm watching, we're talking about having them have 53 to 54 seats. So they'd only need 7 to 6 Republicans to go along with this. And Sanders actually is considered an independent, but I think they lump him into the Democrats when they count him. So anyway, I could see this passing next year if that was the case. This is the easy way to get Biden out of the way. Period. This has nothing to do with Trump. This is Are You Ready For It? Take care, guys. Have a great day.